Chargers Chiefs, Thursday Night Football Week 2, a battle of really good AFC West teams, both coming off wins and with a lot of talent on these rosters. So let's get into it, right? This Chargers offense, not a lot of changes from Week 1 outside of course, Keenan Allen with a hamstring injury, not playing in this game. Definitely matters. Keenan Allen is obviously an incredibly good receiver. For the Chiefs defense, they also have a starting outside player out. Trent McDuffie, rookie corner, who had a decent debut. Looked pretty good against a team. Also on injured reserve, so we have another complete question mark starting at that other corner spot. So what does this offense look like, right? Starting with the Chargers here. Well, last week against the Raiders, the Chargers looked pretty good for sure. However, there are some things, especially along this offensive line, that I am worried about. Zion Johnson did not look very good in his rookie game, and while Trey Pipkins was okay on the edge, I'm still not convinced about him as a long-term starting tackle, and he did show some signs of being not incredible. So first we do the run game, though, right? So can the Chargers run the football? Well, as a general rule, kind of no. This offensive line is not built for running the football. They're not very good at getting forward or creating push to the line of scrimmage. While Rashawn Slater is a positive in that aspect, does have the athleticism to do it. Basically, no one else here is a positive outside of a little bit of Corey Linsley. And against this Chiefs front, man, it's really tough. The Chiefs have done a really good job in the run game of building an incredibly talented front seven. Chris Jones is an absolute monster in there, still second best defensive tackle outside of Aaron Donald. Derek Nottie is a really good run player. They are deep. All these guys can play. And again, I'm just worried the Chargers, they just don't create push. They are going to get pushed around themselves. And especially their guards really can't handle Chris Jones. So you're not talking about Chargers being able to run the ball. Now they're used to that, right? Much more important, can they throw the ball? Well, they of course match up a lot better. So looking at the pass rush first, that does still scare me, especially Chris Jones, right? Chris Jones is the closest you are going to get to Aaron Donald as far as an interior rusher. Now, he is not to that level, which is an important distinction. But man, is he is really, really good. And I am scared for the Chargers team because Matt Filer has really bad play strength. While he can keep up with these smaller interior rushers actually pretty well that a lot of teams run out as like rotational pass rushers, Chris Jones is one of the biggest guys in the league. And I'm really scared about him just getting bulldozed into the pocket. Corey Linsley does help with that, but at this point in his career, he's not the perfect pass protector that he was before. And like I said, Zion Johnson last week against guys like Bilal Nichols, who's a fairly similar allegory for Chris Jones, not nearly to the same level, of course, did struggle at times. So I'm really worried about Chris Jones in this game. And on the edge, while the Chiefs don't offer great edge rushers necessarily, George Karlaftis, first round pick, was whatever. Frank Clark really didn't play very much, and Carlos Dunlap is... He, especially at this point in his career, how old it is, he is fine, but he's not someone who creates a lot of pressure, especially very quickly. But against Trey Pipkins, I'm still worried about it, like I said. Now, he did play better than I expected last week, for sure, against good edge rushers that the Raiders have. But that part still does scare me. How does the secondary match up? Well, good news for the Chargers is that even without Keenan Allen, they still are really talented at wide receiver. Mike Williams is that dude. He's really good. He creates separation. Even for someone as big he is, he can really, really lean on him to drive the ball up and down the field. Josh Palmer, while I'm not crazy impressed with him, is clearly an NFL receiver who can do his job in an offense. Jalen Guyton still has that speed that makes him deadly. I like him being on the field a lot. And DeAndre Carter has been more of a receiver or returner in a lot of his career, but he played a big role in week 1, and there's a reason for that. The dude is talent. He's one of these quicker, faster guys who actually can use his receiving ability and his athleticism to run routes to at least a useful level. And like I said with the Chiefs, it's tough. I like Rashad Fenton a lot and L'Jarius Sneed a lot. Both those guys are really good, but neither, it's not like you're two Jair Alexanders out here, so there's still space to win against them. And this other spot, man, it's just a complete question, and at corner, it's really unlikely that those guys are just good at all. Maybe they'll run more 3 safeties, and that won't even be a thing. They'll put L'Jarius Sneed back on the outside and put Brian Cook, himself a rookie, in a lot more. That scares me. Safeties do not have the speed generally to run with guys like Jalen Guyton, DeAndre Carter, or even Mike Williams down the field. And I'm really worried about that, regardless of which way they go, because I think the Chargers are pretty much guaranteed advantages on the outside. And on the inside, we're still talking about a team with Austin Eckler, and we saw how good Gerald Everett. I've been harping about how good Gerald Everett is for years. And he's really going to show that in this Chargers offense. He can actually replace a lot of the production that Keenan Allen has, not to the same level, but as far as somebody who wins pretty consistently in the intermediate level of the field, he's that dude. And while the Chiefs have okay matchup weapons, I like Justin Reed a little bit. Nick Bolton, Willie Gay can play coverage. Gerald Everett's really good, and he's good enough to win against them, as is Austin Eckler. So they still have the winning short and the winning long in the field, which is why, for as talented or as useful as the Chiefs defense can be into certain matchups with that corner spot and with how good the Chargers still are, even without Keenan Allen, I still like this offense a lot. I think 23 to 30 points, they're going to be able to hit big plays, move the ball. While I am really scared of Chris Jones, I think he will cause some disruption. With this offense, it's 28 points and just 4 touchdowns over the course of a game. They still have more than enough tools to get to that point. So I still like the Chargers offense quite a bit in this game. So how do the Chiefs match up? Well, they themselves dealing with some injury stuff. Austin Wiley still starting a tackle. Yikes. Trey Smith, their really, really good guard, second-year player, is dealing with an injury. He might start in this game. I don't expect him to play the whole thing, and if he doesn't, then you have Nick Allegretti coming in, another complete yikes. And that is kind of, well, we'll see. So then for the Chargers, probably very likely, I think, no J.C. Jackson still. Big loss for sure, one of the best corners in the league. But that's about it. You're still talking about a lot of talent, right? So can this Chiefs team run the ball? Well, they've been an underrated team. I think I might be not even giving them enough credit about how good they are about scheming run plays. They're not quite the 49ers or Rams with it, but they're pretty close. Andy Reid is really smart in the way he does that stuff, and that helps, especially in conjunction with a still really talented left-sided offensive line. Orlando Brown, Joe Thuney, and Creed Humphrey are going to win a lot. Just as a rule, they're really good. And if Trey Smith is on the field, he can contribute to that too. However, in this game, it is really tough because the Chargers have a crazy front seven, especially in run defense. Sebastian Joseph-Day, I expect to play more in this game. Austin Johnson, Christian Covington signed back to the active roster. More than all these dudes can play. Even Otito Ogbonia played a little bit. Week 1 was reasonable. But more importantly, their edge defenders are just so goddamn good. Khalil Mack, maybe the best run defending edge in the league. Joey Bosa, absolutely no slouch there himself. And that makes it really tough. So, like I said, while I do trust Orlando Brown, or the left side, to win enough to maybe create some space, this right side's probably a disaster. Austin Wiley and Nick Allegretti were both guys who very directly contributed to the Chiefs getting blown out in the Super Bowl a couple years ago because they are just not very good and they cannot compete with high-level talent, which the Chargers, like I just mentioned, really, really have. So, in the run game, I don't expect nearly anything, especially with the Chargers having Derwin James still, Bryce Callahan in the slot, a really good player, and reasonably good linebackers, especially when they have the space to operate like they're going to have in this game. So I'm not really impressed with the way the Chiefs can be able to run the ball here. So then can Mahomes keep up? Well, this is going to be one of the games where the Chiefs' complete misidentification of wide receiver talent, I expect to hurt them. Because when you're running out Juju Smith-Schuster, Marcus Valdes-Scantling, Mecole Hardman, you're just going to have trouble winning against man coverage. Or any kind of coverage, really, with any level of consistency. Juju is clearly the best of the three, and he can do a little bit, but he's limited. And even without J.C. Jackson, the Chargers still run out a pretty much elite corner unit. Asante Samuel is a good player. Michael Davis is a good player. Bryce Callahan is probably the best slot corner in the league, who shut down. He played incredibly well week 1 against Hunter Renfrow, who is a really, really good slot receiver, way better than anything the Chiefs have. So you're talking about guys on the outside who are just not going to be able to separate very much at all. Now, again, I will give a lot of credit to Andy Reid in the way the Chiefs play football, in that they're going to create opportunities for them that they don't have to win themselves. But that shit's hard to do consistently. And this Chargers team, being coached by Brandon Staley, who's a really smart guy defensively, I think will keep up with a whole lot of it. Sky Moore I did like in his first game. He's maybe a little bit of an important one in this one, too, as somebody who can actually win. But it's tough. You look at the pass rush, like I said, I'm horrified of Austin Wiley against Joey Bosa in this game. That's a fucking nightmare. Nick Allegretti in there against any of Austin Johnson, Christian Covington, or Morgan Fox it's not, or even Jerry Tillery, I didn't even mention, is a concern. And even Orlando Brown, for as much as I like him in the run game, can struggle to pass protect over a large period of time. And like Joey Bosa can run around him, and Khalil Mack's talented enough to at least push him in the pocket. So there's pass rush. There's not a lot of wins on the outside, and it really is so much put onto Travis Kelce's plate. Now, that's against an idiot team like the Cardinals that can work, right, who are running out guys who just have no chance of covering him. But the Chargers do have guys who have at least a chance. Derwin James is, you're not going to cover Travis Kelce with anyone one-on-one, but Derwin James is about as close as you're going to get. Drew Tranquil and Kenneth Murray do have the athleticism and intelligence as coverage players to not get fucking burned all the time. And there's just, it's tough to see Travis Kelce winning, to the extent I think he needs to in this game, the 15 catches, 175 yards type shit. So I expect the Chiefs offense to struggle in this game. Listen, Mahomes, it's not like he throws 6 touchdowns every game, right? For as much as I respect him, and I do need to mention that no matter how good I think the Chargers defense is, I still will give him a lot of credit as far as making plays, making something out of nothing, and contributing with Andy Reid to moving the ball up and down the field. But they just don't have a lot of ways to win. So I only have them at 17 to 24 points, which is a huge credit because that's as low as I'll ever go on Mahomes. Huge credit to the Chargers defense. But at a point, it's just when you look at how these teams match up, the Chargers have such easier ways of winning on the offensive side of the ball. So I think they're going to actually pretty comfortably win this game. They're 4-point underdogs, which, at first I kind of got it. Just looking at it, man, I love that, to be honest with you. Now, I'm not 100% sure they're going to win just because Herbert is still a little bit inconsistent. Mahomes is better, and he's really good. Of course, so I will never say for sure he's going to lose a game unless it's some wild circumstance. But the 54, the over-under super high for two teams that I don't expect to be incredibly consistent as far as moving the ball up and down the field. So I actually like a lot of the bets in this game, but I'm a huge fan of the Chargers +4. And I picked both the Week 1 teams or Week 1 games for these teams perfectly. Pretty obvious one, so I'm not going to take a ton of credit for it. But we know what we're talking about here, and I do like the Chargers a lot in this game.